In the heart of the United States government lies a principle that has protected freedom, preserved democracy, and prevented tyranny for over 2 centuries. A system so simple in design, yet so powerful in action. This is the story of checks and balances. The year is 1787. In the sweltering heat of Philadelphia, 55 delegates gather in the Independence Hall, their faces glistening with sweat but minds sharp with purpose. These men, representing 13 fledgling states, come from diverse backgrounds, lawyers, planters, merchants, and soldiers, all united by a common cause, to forge a new nation born from the ashes of revolution. Fresh from the struggle against British tyranny, their memories vivid with battles fought and sacrifices made, they carry with them a deep mistrust of kings and unchecked authority. The Founding Fathers were determined to create a government unlike any other, one grounded in the principles of liberty, balanced power, and the rule of law, aiming to secure the blessings of freedom for generations yet unborn. Out of intense debate, heated arguments, and countless compromises came a constitution, a carefully crafted blueprint for democracy. This document was designed to balance the need for a strong, effective government with the fear of tyranny that still haunted the delegates. But how could they ensure that no single branch of government would ever rise above the others, seizing power and threatening the fragile liberty they had fought so hard to achieve? The solution lay in a system of checks and balances, where each branch, legislative, executive, and judicial, would have distinct powers and the ability to limit the others, creating a dynamic equilibrium aimed at protecting the rights of the people and preventing any form of despotism. The answer: separation of powers, and a system of checks and balances. In the United States, power is divided among 3 branches of government. The legislative branch, Congress, makes the laws. The executive branch, led by the President, enforces the laws. And the judicial branch, the Supreme Court and other federal courts, interprets the laws. The judicial branch is one of the 3 branches of the U.S. government, alongside the legislative and executive branches. Its primary role is to interpret and apply the law, especially in cases where laws might be unclear or disputed. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. It has the final authority on matters of federal law and constitutional interpretation. Below the Supreme Court are lower federal courts, including courts of appeals and district courts. The judicial branch holds a critical power known as judicial review, which enables it to evaluate laws passed by Congress or actions taken by the executive branch and determine whether they align with the Constitution. If the courts find any law or executive action unconstitutional, they have the authority to strike it down, effectively nullifying it. This principle wasn't explicitly outlined in the original Constitution but was firmly established in the landmark 1803 Supreme Court case, Marbury v. Madison. Chief Justice John Marshall's ruling in this case set a lasting precedent, empowering the judiciary to act as a guardian of the Constitution and a check on the other branches of government. This power ensures that the rule of law prevails, preventing any laws or actions that might infringe on constitutional rights or upset the delicate balance of power. Federal judges are nominated by the President and must be confirmed by the Senate, a process designed to ensure that appointees are truly voted and deemed fit to uphold the Constitution. Once confirmed, these judges typically serve lifetime appointments, a unique feature intended to preserve their independence and insulate them from political pressures, public opinion, or changes in administration. This lifetime tenure allows judges to make decisions based solely on the law and the Constitution, rather than on the shifting tides of politics or popular sentiment. The framers believed this judicial independence was essential for maintaining a fair and impartial judiciary, capable of upholding the rule of law even when it conflicts with powerful interests or transcend political agendas. This branch acts as a check on the powers of the legislative and executive branches by interpreting laws and determining their constitutionality, helping to ensure a balance of power in the federal government and protecting individual rights against potential government overreach. But each branch is also given the power to limit, or check, the other 2, preventing any one branch from becoming too powerful. This is the essence of checks and balances, a foundational principle of the U.S. Constitution designed to maintain separation of powers, encourage cooperation, and safeguard democratic governance by ensuring that power is shared and regulated among the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Congress passes a bill, but if the President disagrees, he can veto it, preventing it from becoming law. However, this vote is not absolute. Congress can override the president's veto with a two-thirds majority vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate. This process demonstrates the system of checks and balances, where each branch has tools to limit the power of the others and ensure that no single branch has complete control over lawmaking. Congress, which includes the House of Representatives and the Senate, is responsible for making laws that govern the country. As the legislative branch of the federal government, it drafts, debates, and votes on proposed legislation. The House represents the population, with seats based on each state's population size, while the Senate provides equal representation, with 2 senators per state. This bicameral structure ensures both the people and the states have a voice in the lawmaking process, reflecting the principles of representative democracy and federalism. In 1954, the Supreme Court issued a landmark decision in Brown v. Board of Education, declaring that racial segregation in public schools was unconstitutional because it violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. This ruling overturned the long-standing, separate but equal, doctrine established by Plessy v. Ferguson in 1896, which had permitted segregation for decades. By doing so, the court not only challenged the entrenched racial discrimination upheld by many states but also sent a clear message that federal constitutional rights take precedence over state laws and policies. In this case, the Supreme Court exercised its power of judicial review to check both the states, which enforced segregation, and Congress, which had failed to pass civil rights protections strong enough to end segregation. The decision marked a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement, setting the stage for greater federal intervention in dismantling systemic racism and ensuring equal rights for all citizens. In the 1970s, Congress launched a thorough investigation into President Richard Nixon amid the Watergate scandal, a complex web of political espionage, break-ins, and subsequent cover-ups linked to Nixon's re-election campaign. Congressional committees, especially the Senate Watergate Committee, held televised hearings that revealed extensive abuses of executive power, sparking public outrage and a constitutional crisis. As evidence mounted, Congress moved toward impeachment, charging Nixon with obstruction of justice, abuse of power, and contempt of Congress. Facing almost certain impeachment and removal from office, Nixon chose to resign in 1974, the first and only U.S. president to do so. This dramatic episode serves as a powerful example of Congress exercising its constitutional authority to check the executive branch, reinforcing the principle that no one, not even the president, is above the law. But the system isn't flawless. In recent decades, partisan politics, executive orders, and judicial activism have raised difficult questions. Can one branch accumulate too much power? What happens when checks are ignored, or abused? The system works best when all sides respect the rules and uphold the principles laid out in the Constitution. This includes honoring the separation of powers, following legal procedures, and respecting the authority of each branch of government. But when political will, such as the desire to gain or maintain power, outweighs constitutional restraint, the system of checks and balances begins to weaken. This can lead to one branch overstepping its boundaries, ignoring legal limits, or undermining democratic norms, which threatens the balance of power and the health of the democracy as a whole. The American model of democracy, with its emphasis on constitutional government, separation of powers, and protection of individual rights, inspired emerging democracies around the world. Countries such as India, Germany, and South Africa look to the U.S. Constitution as a foundational example when crafting their own systems of government, adapting its principles to fit their unique historical contexts and challenges. For instance, India adopted a federal system with a written constitution that enshrines fundamental rights, reflecting both American influence and its own colonial legacy. Germany incorporated strong checks and balances within a parliamentary democracy designed to prevent the rise of totalitarianism, learning from the failures of the Weimar Republic. South Africa, after apartheid, created a constitution that emphasizes equality and human rights, drawing on the American commitment to civil liberties while addressing its deeply divided society. Each of these nations demonstrates how the core ideals of American democracy, rule of law, separation of powers, and protection of freedoms, can be adapted to diverse political and cultural landscapes worldwide. Checks and balances became not just an American ideal, but a global democratic safeguard, influencing the design of governments around the world. Many democratic nations have adopted similar systems to prevent the concentration of power, ensure accountability among branches of government, and protect individual freedoms. By dividing power among separate institutions, typically the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, countries aim to create a stable and fair government where no single leader or group can dominate unchecked. This principle has become a cornerstone of modern constitutional democracies. And yet, no system survives on paper alone. The most important check in any democracy is the people. Through voting, protest, petition, and civic participation, citizens hold leaders accountable. The system is only as strong as the public's willingness to defend it. Checks and balances are not just rules, they are principles. A framework. A promise that no one is above the law, and that power, once given, must always be watched. In a world of shifting politics and rising challenges, this system remains a cornerstone of democracy. Imperfect, evolving, but essential.